Hi, Reed. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Fine. It's been a little while since we last talked.
Yeah, it's been like a month or so.
Yeah, I checked the date of uh, just when I was setting up this recording and the last recording we had. So now it's May.
Yes.
The last recording we had was in March.
Oh, wow.
So there's a month in between there.
Yeah, that's how months work.
Yep. But we did not record in that month of April. So potentially we have a lot to talk about. Or not.
Yeah.
So we have a regular episode. We're going to do a review. Um, check the mailbag. But first, how are you, and is there anything you'd like to say? And we should talk about things that you've learned recently.
I am fine. Um, as of when we're recording this, the the Supreme Court has leaked a decision that could potentially overturn Roe v. Wade, which is the abortion case. Um, and
I've
so
heard of
that
it.
is very upsetting
Yeah?
and makes me very angry. But I'm fine.
Sure. So I've heard of the Supreme Court and Roe v. Wade
Yes.
and this leaked thing. Some
Yes.
people are talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So you're taking classes from people in legal fields,
Yeah.
scholars of the field.
Yes.
And one of the things I like about having people I know in college is that I can ask them, hey, so what are people saying about that? So what have you learned?
Well, today in my sex positive criminology class, um, we talked about it. And basically we all because nobody really knows what's going on because the Supreme Court has never leaked a decision before. That's never happened. We ordinarily would never find out about this until June when the term, the quarter, or I don't know what they're called, but
Yeah, I think well, you
the
probably know better
time,
than it. It seems like a term.
yeah, the term for when they're deciding their cases ends and they just release all of their stuff. Um, so partially that's very weird in that sense, but then it's also just we don't really know what that will mean, especially because it's just a leak and we don't know for sure if that's actually the final decision.
Right.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
but um, yeah. So my sex positive criminology class was originally for this last week and a half going to talk about um, creating a sex positive campus and what that would look like and informing students about a consent culture and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But now we have decided as a class we're going to switch gears and work on figuring out what this means as a class and then also do some kind of outreach thing to the rest of campus. So whether it's creating a poster or a zine or sidewalk chalk or a presentation or something that just the students can also kind of figure out, get some information that we have learned and hopefully get some comfort or just less in the dark feeling about it next week. So next Tuesday is our last class. So yeah, that's
Wow.
kind of cool that we can just do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually see a community need and decide that's what you should do.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm. And it's also cool, I'm taking a different class called constitutionalism, which is where I read Roe v. Wade and I read Planned Parenthood versus Casey. And so like I have like a lot of that background information outside of that class, outside of my sex positive class.
Right.
And like, so some people were like, yeah, I know what Roe v. Wade is, but I don't really know all of it. And so that was kind of cool that then I could bring in that stuff from about a month ago from my other class and explain kind of what the legacy of those cases actually mean to us and what they've provided as like a standard. Yeah.
So let me get this straight. So you were the person who spoke up and said, "Hey, I know something about this. Let me contribute to our class discussion."
Yeah.
Okay. I won't tell you.
After I waited for a little bit and knew that nobody else was answering. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. I won't tell your mother about this until she hears it on the podcast.
Why not?
Well, because it'll be a surprise. She'll be like, because you're not typically the person you talk about not saying stuff in class. I'm sure you say more than what you describe, but this is something that we know about you. So
yeah,
your mother will be so proud of you.
Thanks. Hi, Mama.
Well, that's so. Do any of in any of these discussions, are they talking about like, okay, maybe this will be a turning point in a whole nother direction that we weren't expecting, like when Utah challenged gay marriage and now we've legalized gay marriage as a fundamental right? Like, could there be something else that kind of like flips the other way?
Based on Supreme Court stuff, since there's only 9 and 4 of them are very conservative and 3 of them are pretty liberal, one of them, Chief Justice John Roberts, is kind of in between. So we don't really know how he could vote, but it could be, I don't know. Yeah. So
it still could be a 5-4 decision.
It could still be a 5-4 decision. Or it could be like a plurality decision. So technically so you can vote yes or no. But then in the essays that they write, the papers, their decisions, you can write a majority, a concurring, or a dissenting opinion. And so you can vote yes, but still concur. So basically in saying like, oh, but I don't like the reason for that. So you could have like a 4-4 split, but since someone is concurring, and that would be a plurality opinion, which like it would still go through, but then people do read that and that still sets precedent for cases down the line, which is pretty interesting.
Oh.
And that's what happened in Planned Parenthood versus Casey, which, yeah, they decided, that was a couple years after, that was 1990s, and that decided that instead of the trimester framework in Roe, they were doing a viability standard. So just if the fetus could live outside of the parent body by itself, then you could not have an abortion. But if it was pre-viability, then the state could not limit the abortions as long as the doctor was also involved. Yeah, and so that was a plurality opinion, basically because the person who was concurring, who I don't remember who that was, they were saying like that they didn't like that they didn't really uphold Roe. They just kind of said they did, but they overturned a lot of what Roe said. Yeah. This has now become a legal podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that will bring in the listeners.
Yeah.
So that's fascinating. But what I was thinking, I'm glad you said that, but what I was thinking of when I asked is, what is there beyond the, like outside of the courts? Couldn't something else happen? Like maybe this will be a whole new push for legislation that is fundamentally different, which I kind of think is something that we need anyway.
Yeah. So that could be a thing. Like there are currently, like, so on one side, there's currently, I think it's like 13 states, including like the Dakotas, Texas, Utah, Florida, I think, and several others that have trigger laws. So like as soon as like Roe gets overturned, like abortion is banned in those places.
Yep.
But like so that is not good. But on the other side of that, like Democrats can be very upset about that. And so there might be a big surge in more Democratic people getting elected, especially because we're close to an election.
Right.
Or we're in primaries and stuff. So there might be a surge of that. But I don't know. It's all up in the air right now, and that's makes it hard.
Right now while we're recording.
Yep.
So by the time we post this, it could be all different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it could be even more up in the air.
Yeah. Yeah. There's primaries going on right now tonight. The Ohio primary includes J.D. Vance. You know who that guy is?
No.
He's the author of Hillbilly Elegy.
Oh, I do know that person.
And he was endorsed by Trump. He's like completely like changed his whole, so the listener can't see the face that you're making, but he's like made this whole pro-Trump and endorsed by Trump kind of stance. It's super bizarre.
That is strange.
That's what I thought. But he says he was wrong about all the things he said that he had critiqued Donald Trump in years past, and now he says he was all wrong. It's super weird.
That is super weird. Because I've read sections of that book. I didn't read the whole thing, but like for a class in like 10th grade. And that's not the impression I got. But
Right. You'd think that there'd be a whole other stance, but
yeah,
I truly do not understand. I can just say that and have a hard stop. I do not understand lots of things.
That's good. What did you learn this week?
Well, I learned about the idea that there can be a plurality in a Supreme Court decision. I learned that about 90 seconds ago.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That was a revelation. And that you know all this stuff and that you get to make sense of it right there in the middle of history happening.
Yeah.
So that's cool. But let's see. Before I talk to you, what have I learned? I just turned in grades, so there hasn't been a whole lot of learning. Although one of the things I assigned to students in my advanced physics lab class that I co-teach with our friend Colin. I had them do experiments on water absorption in towels, and it turns out there's a whole bunch of stuff that they did that even I didn't expect them to do, and it was like all kinds of interesting, which it's not nearly as relevant as the kinds of stuff that you're talking about with the Supreme Court, but it was interesting at how far my students could take certain things and how sophisticated and thoughtful they could be.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
That's good.
Yeah. Oh, and I was introduced to a student who I have in class in the fall, who's an advisee of mine. I was helping them figure out their summer.
Mhm.
And he said, "Oh, yeah. And by the way, I was a student of so-and-so in ninth grade. And that teacher that he had as a ninth grader was a student of mine in college. So I now have a student who was a student of someone who was a student of mine."
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. The math works out, but it does seem a little crazy.
I mean, you're almost 50.
I am. Yeah. Just a few more. It is my birthday month.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's exciting.
Yeah. Who knows what we'll be podcasting after I'm 50. We'll have flying cars and stuff.
Probably.
Once I'm 50, yeah, that'll be the future. Or now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I haven't been nearly as involved in like revolutionary learning like you are, but there have been things.
Yeah.
Oh.
All learning is good learning.
Yeah. It's very wise.
Thanks.
So, should we get into our review of the week?
Sure.
Okay. Do you want to no, you're sipping on your straw.
Yeah.
We are reviewing, after a lot of debate over different things that we have watched or experienced, we've decided to review the pandemic that has been COVID-19.
Yeah. Or that is COVID-19.
Yeah. This was spurred by a statement by Dr. Fauci, and he just said something like, "We're out of our pandemic phase," and people interpreted that as him saying the pandemic is over, which he didn't really say.
Yeah.
And he kind of backtracked. And yeah, and of course we see cases surging again, hopefully to not as much of an ill effect. But thinking of the pandemic in hindsight, how has your first pandemic been?
I hope it is my last pandemic.
Oh.
How has it been for you?
Well, it's been my least favorite pandemic ever.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so review over. So 0 out of 5 stars.
Yeah.
1 out of 5 stars.
I learned a lot about myself.
Okay, good. Tell me.
Over the pandemic, I discovered my gender was different than I thought it was.
Jesus, COVID is really weird. I knew you lost your sense of smell.
Yeah. Yeah, you lose your sense of smell, your gender, and that's it.
Wow.
Yeah, but
so how how did COVID-19 contribute to your awakening of that gender identity?
Well, I was stuck inside thinking for a long time, and so I think that contributed to it. But then I don't know if it actually contributed to it or if I just happened to figure it out during that time, and so then it's kind of associated with that in my mind.
Sure.
But I don't know. I also started college during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So
lots of
made a lot of
things.
friends.
Yeah.
And started a podcast over the pandemic.
Right? Oh yeah, so podcasts will turn you gay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of it.
Yeah.
We got a puppy over the pandemic.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they'll mess with you.
Yeah.
Right. Lots of things happened. So to be clear, your gender identity.
It's not linked.
Okay. Coincidence.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And I 50% of the people on this podcast have retained their gender identity. So
Yeah.
it's all cool.
It's a 50-50 shot.
Right. Be careful. Thinking of starting a podcast? Well, consider this. You might turn 50 and lose your eyesight, or you could change your gender.
Yeah.
That's the truth that we know.
Yeah. We should like make a commercial for podcasting, and like that's the slogan.
Yeah. I've been wondering, like, here I've been thinking we needed like a soundtrack, and I never really thought that one worked, but maybe this is it.
Yeah.
We just need a trailer.
Yeah.
Is the heteronormative establishment getting you down? Start a podcast.
Try podcasting.
Yeah. You may be queer. Okay,
Did I tell you the thing? Did I tell you the thing I saw on the internet that was like, white guys don't go to therapy, they just start a podcast? And I was like, oh yeah, that's what we do.
That's it hits a little too close to home. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the pandemic.
Yeah, the pandemic, right. Yeah, anything else that happened during the pandemic? I mean, okay, so you've made some pretty major life, had big life moments.
Yeah.
So what do you think of the pandemic in terms of how you think about your fellow humanity peoples?
I think a lot more about my saliva impacting them than I did before.
Yeah.
Like I still wear my mask all the time inside. And then like most of the time when I'm outside in busy places. And so like, because there are still people who can't get vaccinated or are still very immunocompromised. And so like COVID is still deadly and is still one of the highest. It's one of the causing like the highest things that is killing people in America right now. And so like that is very strange that I am contributing to people potentially their mortality. And yeah, and I think it's interesting how some people have been thinking about that a lot, and other people have kind of gotten over that and ignore that now, which is interesting.
It's hard for me to like, yes, it's a high of the things that we deal with. It's a higher risk than most any other thing, but then it doesn't, like, I think you're at this point more likely to die in a car crash than of COVID on average.
Yeah, well, me, because I'm healthy.
Right.
But
okay.
Not everybody is in my privileged situation.
Okay.
And they like as like someone who grew up with good healthcare and with white privilege and stuff like that, like our family and our community is much better off than a good percent of minority populations and like which have devastated their communities. But we were talking about that in my stats class the other day. So
jeez, you've taken all kinds of classes with relevant.
Yeah. I only take cool classes.
Yeah. I'll have to tell my stats friends that you put stats into that box.
Into social stats. So it's a stats class that fulfills a math credit for humanities majors who don't really want to do math.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard a few people. No, it sounds like a really useful class.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. So the difference between you're thinking of those who we're outside of a certain standard deviation
Yeah.
that society might not be thinking about.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of what's a good outcome of COVID. Maybe we get to think about other people we don't normally think about, or maybe you're already thinking of them.
Yeah. I think like currently in a lot of places the laws are back to favoring the most well-off people, which is how they have always pretty much been in our country and in our society. And like COVID was a little bit of a time where it favored people who were not at that stage, who are not at the higher up like socioeconomic status or like something like that. And so that was an outcome and made some people upset, but that's okay.
Yeah. There was certainly there were moments where you thought, okay, we're all needing to buckle down. We're going to be in this together.
Yeah.
And I thought that vaccines would be this thing where we would continue to say the same thing.
Yeah.
And for a moment, I thought that. Yeah. That was really good feeling to get my first vaccine.
That was so exciting.
That was like, I remember exactly where I was when I learned I could get the vaccine.
Yeah, me too.
So that was good. You know, there's one other thing I miss in kind of a really backwards way. When we were first kind of shut down and people really weren't going anywhere, I loved how quiet it was.
Yeah.
Like, we would go on a walk outside and maybe other people were walking, but no one was driving anywhere.
Yeah, because you had nowhere to go.
Yeah, it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, like, someone can't record this and let's not let them take this out of context because of all the people who record this and say, oh, that guy thought it was cool that we were all locked down. But I just thought it was amazing what silence could be like.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, well, I guess I'll remember that, and then I can think of the sound isn't actually the background. It is something we add onto the nothing that is there. And birds seem to like sing more clearly, or more things seem to be out.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if that was me looking at stuff differently or if that was how it was, but...
Right. Do you perceive things differently? There was that, you remember the wild turkeys that were roaming the neighborhood?
Yeah.
And it seems like there was something else that in the neighborhood.
There wasn't was there a bobcat? Or was that a different time?
There was something like that.
That just came down from the mountain and just hanging out.
It wasn't, there was, when you were in elementary school, there was this cougar sighting.
Yeah.
But that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And they kept you inside so that the cougar didn't eat the children.
Yeah.
That was different.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there were like more deer around. And occasionally deer come down out of the foothills, but there were more of them, and the wild turkeys were around. And it was just, there's some different things.
Yeah, but like the turkeys were like right outside our house.
Yeah, in our driveway.
Yeah, and we didn't know what to do about it because there were just turkeys.
We just watched them.
Yeah, I was worried about our chickens because I didn't want the turkeys to attack the chickens.
Yeah, that seems kind of funny to imagine now, but
yeah.
All right. Anything else you learned during the pandemic? I mean, it was kind of folded into lots of other things that were happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I did a lot of stuff, and then I also didn't get to do a lot of stuff. Um, but it's okay.
Overall, you did a lot of things that
Yeah, I did do a
are
lot of
more
things.
than not doing things, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was good.
Hmm.
Um, Still, I don't like pandemics.
No, don't recommend
Nope.
a global pandemic.
Thumbs down. Not recommended.
Yep.
Okay, well, we're settled. We have a plurality.
No,
We
that's
actually
a
have
majority.
we have a majority.
We
yeah.
have a unanimous decision.
Excuse me. Yep. Unanimous. Okay. Good review. Maybe next time we'll review
Something fun.
the Book of Boba Fett.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
I'm halfway through.
Oh, is it good?
Or
are you going to save that for a review?
I should save it, but I'll tell you, it's kind of campy, but interesting. It's good. Like some of it, you're like, oh, that's kind of silly the way it's staged, but it's good.
Yeah. Emma and I, my roommate and I, have been watching Moon Knight, which is a new Marvel TV show with Oscar Isaac. It is very good.
Oh.
Yeah. There's like one more episode coming out Wednesday. It's very good.
Okay. I think I've seen a banner for that. That's on the Disney Plus.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, there we go.
Yeah.
I guess Disney has some merit after all.
New up and coming corporation.
Yeah. They could make something of themselves.
Yeah. Maybe a theme park or 7, something like that. So,
yep. Yep. They'll make their way through this.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have other reviews. Probably next time we'll do a 10 questions.
Yeah.
I wonder if it will be before I turn 50 and you finish your semester. We'll see.
Yeah, that's coming up quick.
Yeah.
But yeah.
How are you feeling about the end of your term?
It snuck up on me.
Yeah.
It's suddenly May, and I've got a week of classes left and then finals. So
that's a good way to do it.
Yeah, I'm almost halfway through college.
Oh my God.
All of which has been during a pandemic.
Yep.
So that's pretty fun.
Well, you've had some really good experiences.
Yeah, it's been good, all things considered.
Yep. And next year, well, all kinds of episodes, things to talk about in next year's episodes.
Yeah, no spoilers.
Okay. No spoilers. I won't. Yeah. Whole new season.
Yeah.
Okay.
With the theme music and everything.
Yeah. Or at least a trailer.
Yeah.
Says you wanna turn your kids queer? Start a podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually,
We had the idea before.
Yes, we've been talking about it for a long time.
But we didn't start it until after.
Yeah. That's fine too. It's just the way it turned out.
Yep.
Which is to say, I would do a podcast with you on either side.
Thanks.
Of those life-altering, life-navigating kinds of things. Yeah, right. Yeah. I don't want to give anything else away. You have other things coming up soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's check the mailbag.
Okay.
Okay. Yep, that's it.
Nothing?
Nothing. And that's fine.
Yeah.
Like sometimes someone has sympathy and they send a faux piece of mail or a fan mail.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's great. Thanks, Emma. Thanks, Anna. Those are great. But but we haven't had any hard-hitting issues to discuss.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Maybe we can be like a full-time like therapy podcast or something like that, where you just coach people through their issues or something like that.
That's a great idea. That would combine the things I hate most in the media, which is self-help books and advice columns.
Yeah.
But if I had my own, I think then it would be worth it.
Well, then you only give good advice because it's your own advice. So everything you say, you think is great.
Right. Right. Except I think you and I are have the same nature where we'd say, I'm not really sure about this.
Yeah. Maybe you should do that your own time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you want to email us, it's mouth sounds.
No, it's dearmouthsounds.
dearmouthsounds@gmail.com.
Yep.
Or go to our website at mouthsounds.org.
Yep.
And go to the contact button.
Yep. And just pile up those mails.
Yeah.
Yep.
All 11 listeners.
All the envelopes. We keep finding other people who do listen to this.
Really?
Periodically. Yeah.
That's fun.
They're like 2. I've talked to 2 people in recent months who I did not know had listened, and they actually do.
Yeah.
So that's good.
That is good.
Spread the word.
Okay.
And, okay. That's all we have. Nice talking to you, Reed.
It's good to talk to you too, Dad.
Keep your feelings inside.
Thank you, you too.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.